Welcome to Module 3 of Good to Go Sunol. I'm Cheryl Miller from the Diablo Fire Civ Council. We've been working with a leadership team of residents supported by the Alameda County Fire Department and the Santa Clara unit of CAL FIRE to develop this program. Funding was provided by the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection as part of the California Climate Investments Program. Since this program is in its early form, we hope you will give us feedback on what works for you or what is missing. If you don't have a workbook for this module, download one at www.goodtogowildfire.com. We look forward to hearing from you as you discover how to be good to go. In Module 3, we'll discuss the way to go, how to know when and which way to go. We'll be covering 5 topics: the evacuation process, when to evacuate, how to evacuate, and we'll look at 5 special circumstances, which way to go, in other words, the evacuation routes, and what to do if you're trapped. And there'll be 5 actions in your workbook that will help you continue to customize your evacuation plan. During the evacuation process, the fire incident commander will determine the areas to be evacuated and escape routes to use if there are options, and those will depend on the fire's location, behavior, winds, and the terrain. The fire incident commander will then issue the evacuation order through the sheriff's office. The law enforcement agencies are the ones responsible for enforcing the evacuation order. You'll be following their directions, and please do so promptly. You will be advised of potential evacuations as early as possible by AC alert. Remember, though, you do need to register to receive those alerts. And your role and responsibility during the evacuation process is to evacuate yourself, your family, your pets, and your livestock. We want to stress you should leave immediately if you receive an evacuation order. Don't wait to be ordered by authorities to leave if you're unsure, feel threatened, or lose power or communications. Even if you only receive an evacuation warning, you should consider leaving quickly to avoid being caught in a fire, smoke, or road congestion. If you ask yourself, should I evacuate? You probably already should have. Law enforcement will direct the evacuation, and they will keep intersections open and moving, but remember their resources may be limited. Evacuating early, that is before the evacuation is ordered, helps keep roads clear of congestion and lets fire apparatus move freely to do their jobs. If you're advised to leave, do not hesitate. Law enforcement agencies are responsible for enforcing an evacuation order. Follow their directions promptly. You may be directed to temporary assembly areas to await transfer to a safe location. All evacuation instructions provided by officials should be followed immediately for your safety. You must take initiative to stay informed and aware. Use the checklist you developed in Module 1. Check with neighbors, listen to your radio and TV. Use your smartphone, computer, tablet to check official sources. You may need to search for announcements from law enforcement and emergency personnel. Many people ask if they should evacuate by car or by foot. Media images of burned cars have left many California residents with the misconception that cars are highly vulnerable to wildfires. The opposite is true. Your car provides a tremendous amount of protection. Made of glass and steel, it protects from hot gases, embers, and radiant heat, and as long as it stays on the pavement, is extremely resistant to burning. With an AM/FM radio, air filtration and air conditioning, headlights, and protection from heat, your car is like a survival suit for wildfires. On page 5 of your workbook, there's a checklist for you to use. It starts with the concept of take the car that's most capable to get you out alive. Leave the convertible. Take the SUV if possible. Pick up your neighbors, especially elderly or disabled residents who may be unable to evacuate on their own. Take the fastest route out of the canyon. The route you normally take to the grocery store or to work is usually the best route to evacuate by. If available, law enforcement officers will be directing traffic and wave vehicles through intersections. Even during an extreme wildfire, when there may be fire on both sides of the road, you will be safer inside your vehicles than out. Keep the windows rolled up, outside vents closed, turn your lights on, and drive slowly and carefully. Don't panic if you get caught in traffic. You are safer in your car than outside. Don't stop to ask law enforcement officers or firefighters for fire information. Turn your headlights on, wear your seatbelt, turn on the inside air and air conditioning. Tune to local news radio stations, proceed slowly and calmly. Lastly, don't try to pass cars when visibility is low, and don't panic in traffic. Everyone wants to know where they will go in an evacuation. Most important is to understand that where you go will depend upon where the fire started, the weather conditions, and the fire's behavior. You won't know where to go until you start to evacuate. Even then, you will want to keep as many options open as possible to respond to changing conditions. Your first thought should be to get out of the canyon and move towards a temporary refuge area or community assembly area. Think of this as downtown Sunol or Sunol Glen Elementary School or the depot area. But depending on the fire's location, those areas may not be safe. A temporary refuge or assembly area could be any safe place to wait while a fire passes. It could be an open location, free of unburned vegetation. If your evacuation route is blocked or impassable, it could be a wide parking lot, a ball field, or even a house or commercial building that could provide temporary shelter. You want to think about remaining in that location until there's more information available, and authorities may choose to evacuate the temporary refuge area en masse when it's safe to do so. As the fire approaches, if you're in your car, park with windows up and in a location far from vegetation or structures, and wait for the fire to pass. Emergency managers will attempt to provide information on safe evacuation centers if time. However, those pre-designated evacuation centers need to be confirmed as safe locations before they can be announced. They may be in Pleasanton, Livermore, or Fremont, and we'll talk more about which way to go in a minute. Public and private schools will attempt to notify parents and evacuate children only if time allows. However, the schools will likely need to shelter in place and will protect the children in safe places on campus if a wildfire strikes without time to evacuate. When evacuation is ordered, parents may not be allowed in to the evacuation area to pick up their students. Communicate this with your children in advance and then send them to school prepared with tools they need to communicate and protect themselves, such as extra food, long cotton clothing, and a list of primary and alternate emergency contacts and numbers. If your children are in private daycare, ask the provider about their plans for emergencies. If you have access or functional needs, including mobility, developmental, cognitive, hearing, or language issues, you and your caregivers need to be proactive. Take special precautions so everyone will know about evacuation orders at any time of day or night, even if power fails. Predetermine who will help with evacuation and have a backup. Friends, families, neighbors who live close by. Prepare to take durable medical goods, oxygen, and other special equipment. Find responsible people to evacuate you. Don't rely on first responders to evacuate you. They will likely be overwhelmed with other duties. On page 10 of your workbook, you'll find a regional map. Take this with you when you go. Learn the various ways, north, south, east, and west, that you might need to take to reach Pleasanton, Livermore, or Fremont. Highways 84 and 680 are your likeliest routes. You may have heard that there are 2 evacuation zones in Sunol, that Kilcar Woods is one and downtown Sunol is the second. These 2 zones may be set up if there's time, and it's really to help with traffic flow. But you may find during evacuation that the zones are not used. So when you're ready to go, you need to start moving. The next section talks about what to do if you face the unexpected. For instance, what do you do if your road is blocked? It's important to know that the presence of fire or flames on the roadside does not necessarily mean your road is blocked. You can usually safely drive where there is fire burning on the roadsides. Being stuck in traffic in your car on unburnable pavement is usually safer than being exposed on foot. If the road is blocked, try to clear the obstacles, but only if it's safe to exit your vehicle. Turn around if the obstacle can't be cleared. If an alternate route is available and your main route is blocked, then take that alternate route. Try to drive away from the fire if possible and take the shortest route to the valley floor if you're on a hillside. Don't leave your vehicle unless there is no other option or your car is on fire. Leaving your car is a last resort and may prove deadly. You're almost always safer in your car, or even better, in a building. Do not abandon your car in the roadway. Park it off the road if there's no other option. Take refuge in an open area like a ball field, large parking lot, or shelter in your car, or even better, inside a building if no quick escape route is available and flames are approaching. If you live in a one-way in, one-way out neighborhood, such as along Kilcar Road, your evacuation route is predetermined. Use the one-way out direction and leave. Drive towards your neighborhood's exit and to the nearest town away from the fire. Follow instructions in the alert messages if they provided evacuation shelter or evacuation route information. Do not attempt to evacuate by fire roads or open spaces where you might be exposed to burning vegetation. Fire roads are almost always more dangerous than being in your car on the pavement. You might be concerned that fire engines will block your evacuation, but when evacuation has been ordered, the fire's incident commander will instruct fire engines not to enter areas where evacuation is occurring and two-way passage is not possible. Evacuation is the #1 priority for firefighters. Fire roads are for firefighter use and are not a safe option for evacuation. You need to stay on pavement and in your vehicle if possible. The unmaintained vegetation along fire roads and the fact that most lead uphill and require high clearance four-wheel drive vehicles make them unsafe and unsuitable for evacuation. Firefighters don't evacuate uphill, they don't evacuate towards unburned vegetation, and don't attempt to outrun a fire uphill. You should not either. Kilcare Woods residents may think that the trails in Pleasanton Ridge Park as evacuation routes. Emergency egress is identified in the 2012 Park Master Plan, but if you read this section, it also identifies that the primary evacuation is south on Kilcare Road. It recognizes that the park trails require four-wheel drive and may be extremely unsafe. This evacuation route should only be used when egress is coordinated and an escort provided by emergency personnel. Wildfires are unpredictable and spread quickly. Even if you've prepared in advance, you may be required to shelter in place if ordered, or if you find yourself trapped by a wildfire. To survive this frightening scenario, it is important to remain calm and keep everyone together. Prepare yourself mentally for darkness, even if it's during the day. There'll be noise and chaos, and you'll have a natural urge to flee the safety of your shelter. If you're unable to evacuate, it's probably safer inside a car or even better in a building where your airway, eyes, and skin are protected. Take shelter in the nearby place that's best available to withstand the fire. This may be your home, another building made of more resistant materials, or that is less exposed to burning vegetation. It could be your car or an open outdoor area like an irrigated playfield or parking lot far from vegetation. Stay calm and together while the wildfire passes, which will be quickly, and when directed or when the fire outside subsides, move to a safer area. If safe evacuation is not an option, follow these steps on the checklist on page 15 in your workbook for how to shelter in a house or building. A building should be your first choice for shelter if evacuation is not possible. Close all doors and windows, but leave them unlocked. Keep car keys, cell phone, ID, and flashlight with you. Gather all your family members, the pets, and carriers, and lay down near your front door, protecting your airway by breathing near the floor if it becomes smoky and hot. Stay away from the outside walls and windows. Call 911 and let them know your location if you can get through. But don't worry if you can't. Remember, there's a lot going on. Leave the house only if it becomes too hot or smoky inside, or when it's obviously safer outside. Remember, if it gets hot inside, it's 4 to 5 times hotter outside. Once it's safe to go outside, monitor the fire and watch for small fires or spot fires. Page 16 of your workbook has a similar checklist for if you have to shelter in a car. If your escape route is blocked and there is no safe building nearby to take refuge in, park and stay in your car. It is far safer than being out in the open. Find a place to park on pavement that has little or no vegetation. If you have a choice, park in an outside turn if on a hillside. The inside turn are usually in swales that act as chimneys for the fire. Never attempt to evacuate by unpaved fire roads. Turn on your headlights and emergency flashers to make your car more visible through heavy smoke. Close all windows and doors, shut off all air vents, and turn off the air conditioner. Get below the windows, under blankets, preferably if you have wool blankets, and lie on the floor to shelter yourself from radiant heat as it becomes hotter. Try calling 911 and let them know your location, but again, don't worry if you can't get through. There's a lot going on. Stay in the vehicle as long as possible. Wait until the fire front passes and temperature has begun to drop outside, and then get out and move to a safe area that is already burned. The last action on page 17 of your workbook is for when we can meet as a group. Arrange for a group to meet and walk the major evacuation route. Identify hazardous fire vegetation for fuel reduction projects to improve your community's way out. We're going to be looking for low-hanging tree limbs, shrubs within 10 feet of the pavement edge that are highly flammable, as well as dead and dying trees or piles of flammable materials. Let's do a quick recap of the key concepts you learned. We talked about the evacuation process, that the fire department incident commander will be in charge of the fire response, Alameda County Sheriff's Office will be in charge of evacuation, and you must be responsible for evacuating yourself, your family, pets, and livestock. We also learned about when to evacuate and that there might be an evacuation zone. You must take the initiative to stay informed and aware. But remember, if you ask yourself, should I evacuate? You probably already should have. It is okay to go early. We also learned about how to evacuate, the importance to take your car. Your car provides protection during evacuation. Take your car and stay on the pavement. Use the checklist to drive safely. We also talked about where to go and special circumstances. Temporary refuges or community assembly areas are the first place to head. Evacuation centers need to be confirmed as safe locations before they can be announced. Use your potential route map to remind yourself of the various ways to go. Lastly, we talked about what to do if your road is blocked or if you're trapped. Be prepared for the potential challenges in Sunol. On Kilkelly Road, your neighborhood has only one way out. Be prepared to shelter in your home or in your car. And a reminder, do not use fire roads in Pleasant Ridge Regional Park. They are not a good option. There are several ways to become more involved in Good to Go Sunol. You can take our short survey or sign up on our contact list to receive updates. You can either email your request or sign up on our website. You can host a module. We're happy to set up a Zoom meeting for your neighbors and friends. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel for other modules, or attend a Sunol Citizen Advisory Council meeting for a live presentation. That's also through Zoom right now. You can download a workbook at www.goodtogowildfire.com, or if you have any questions, please email us at goodtogosunol@gmail.com. Get a workbook, prepare for wildfire, and get good to go, Sunol.